What are you starting to dislike the more and more older you get? Story 1. Social media. It's just gotten worse and worse since I was in high school. The internet was cool before corporations figured out how to better monetize and control it. Exactly. I'm 40, so I lived through the Wild West days of the internet, and I always wondered when they would get a hold of it. I miss the old days of the internet too. My very early days of internet use were the tail end of the Wild West, and things were so much more fun and dumb and didn't have to have a point. The things I find the saddest to see the way they are YouTube and YouTubers in general, and just the sheer amount of adverts everywhere. Everything is an advertisement. Everything. So just the monetization of the internet, I guess. Advertising is everywhere. There are screens everywhere. Story 2. The 5-day work week. Did this for a year, went for 4 days due to personal reasons, and never went back. 5 days now feels like getting scammed by your employer to me. How the hell are we supposed to do this forever, dude? I'm 13 years in and this is the main reason I want to freaking die. LOL. And I hate when people say just find something you enjoy. I did. I enjoy not freaking wasting 40 plus hours a week being somewhere I don't want to be. I enjoy fixing up my own house, doing my own chores, and having my own hobbies. After work, I don't even want to cut the grass or ride my bike, clean my fish tanks, or paint the walls. It literally sucks the life out of you. By freaking design, I'm sure. I'm all for just working 8 fewer hours, of course, but I couldn't do 4 10-hour days. Maybe if I didn't have kids, but I can't pick up my daughter from school at 6:15. At this point, I'd love just to have Friday afternoons. Everyone kind of checks out early anyway, just make it official. Or even alternate. Just something to have some time during the week to either relax a little or get some errands done. It sucks when so many things like the doctor's office, dentists, the post office, the DMV, car repair, etc. are only open the hours that you're working. The early COVID days sucked a lot, but in some ways they were kinda dope because I was working from home for the first time ever, and I had time to clean my house and do laundry and work on stuff that I never had time to do before. I was more productive at work because I wasn't so tired and stressed and living in a gross house that I was too burnt out to take care of. I kind of miss it a bit, I'm not gonna lie. Early COVID days actually weren't too bad for this. It was just being locked up that sucked. Story 3. Loud noise. I'm 36. I live in a pretty tight quarters suburb where the backyards aren't very big. My neighbor behind me recently decided to move out and start renting his house. The first renters moved in and they like to hang out on their back porch from about 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. smoking weed and listening to music really loud through a Bluetooth speaker. I smoke weed too, but they manage to just blow up the whole block with it every night. They aren't breaking any laws. I've asked them to keep it down a bit, which seems to work for about an hour before it goes back to really loud. Hard for anyone in a surrounding yard to have a conversation volume. I don't have any real recourse besides relying on them to use common neighbor courtesy with their volume like the rest of us around. It sucks. I feel like the fun police, but really in my head, it's that myself and the other neighbors keep our stuff to ourselves and they just took over everything. I crave silence so much. So many people just don't seem like they can operate without noise. Like my wife will always turn on the TV or something around the house for background noise. I hate that. I love nothing more than the sound of silence, but it's so hard to actually get these days. It adds such a mental load that you don't even realize until you're somewhere that is truly quiet. Whenever I visit someplace that is actually rural, the difference is astounding. It's like a weight falling from your brain and you feel so much better. Even if you think you don't notice the sound, your brain does. I really don't get the people who need constant noise. I just can't understand the mindset of people who will blast music at top volume for hour after hour, or the people who can't be without stimulation and so they bring a Bluetooth speaker to the beach or on their hike in the woods. Barking dogs for me. I just spent a week in Vegas and it was easier to sleep in my hotel room on the Strip than in my suburban home in Sydney, with the neighbors' stupid dogs going off every hour. I don't think there are any noises more irritating to me than barking dogs and screaming children, and the most common cause for both are idiots, so it's not even a noise that can be justified like most city sounds. I got sick of barking dogs by the time I was 8. Story 4. Everything needs an app. Why can't I just use this perfectly fine browser? The worst part is when the app is very, very blatantly just a wrapper around a website that literally does nothing that would require it to have said app. I was at a restaurant a while back, and they took my name and phone number for the waitlist. I get a text to go to a website to check my place in line. I went to the website and it said to download the app for the best mobile experience and to see my place in line. There was no other option. When I downloaded the app, it wanted me to create an account. That's when I backed out and went back to the website and opened it in desktop mode, and it told me my place in line without having to create an account. I left a 1-star review for the app because of that, and the developer doubled down by replying that they feel the app is the best experience for mobile and funnel them to that. No, why don't you let the user decide what experience is best for them? I don't want your goddamn app taking up space on my phone. I agree, my washing machine shouldn't need an app. Story 5. Trying to be cool and get attention, especially with people whom I am not close to. Now I just wish to be peaceful. One of my pet peeves is trying to communicate with someone who is constantly trying to seem tough or cool. Can't you have a normal interaction without making it about your ego? I know someone in their late 50s who is still desperately worried about what other people think. Meanwhile, I'm half her age and I cannot be bothered to get validation from people. My younger sister will always try to clown me for wearing whatever I want when I go out and not wearing the latest trendy stuff. I try to explain to her that the less you care about what others think of you, the happier you'll be, but she's still too young and ignorant to fully understand this message. Too bad a lot of people don't ever age out of trying to fit in. Story 6. Always being tired and getting up in the morning. I really took the amount of sleep I got when I was younger for granted. 6 years ago, I made the commitment to myself that no matter what was going on in my world, I would allow myself a full 8 hours a night for sleeping. It took me over a year to finally get it to work, and now I get 7 to 8 hours every night. I'm much happier, and I'd like to believe healthier for doing so. I've been trying to do this, but my body needs somewhere between 8 and 10 hours and cannot be awoken by any external factors. When it needs 8 versus 10 is random. Whether I'm able to wake up at 8 a.m. or noon is random. Anytime I force myself on a specific sleep schedule, I feel like absolute crap. I'm one of those too. 7 hours isn't even close to enough. I need a solid 9. Story 7. Children screaming for no reason and loud noises really frustrate me. I work close to a Chuck E. Cheese my friend works at, so I sometimes wait for her to get out. The amount of times I've looked at a screeching kid and in my head went, "Why are you screaming?" I always just end up going, whose kid is that? This is why I highly doubt I can be a good parent. Children screaming frustrate the crap out of me. If I had a kid and they started screaming and crying, I honestly don't know how to handle that. You can't exactly reason with them, and from what I've seen, scolding them only makes them scream louder. I wouldn't be surprised if I reached a point where I just left the kid alone to finish crying, which I don't think is what many consider good parenting. This isn't bad parenting. Sometimes they need a minute to have their tantrum before you can talk to them. Story 8. I'm 62. Working has lost its color. I'm 35, and I'm so burned out I don't know if I'll be able to work again. I'm starting to feel that given the choice between working literally anywhere, doing literally anything, and just straight up dying, I'm not totally sure which one I'd pick. Work is such a drag. It is so mentally taxing and draining. Personally, I know I need to find a completely new career, but there's so much work involved in a transition. Also, there's no guarantee I'll get hired. The only guarantee is that I'll have to put on so much work to try. I've been burnt out for years, but like you, I keep on keeping on. Hang in there, buddy. I genuinely can't wait for retirement. Story 9. Traveling, but not seeing the sights or any of that. I mean the actual transition from one location to another. I did a few trips in my 20s where I'd be finding all different ways to save money and go to as many places as possible. Overnight buses, sleepless nights, budget airlines, etc. Last trip was 4 years ago at 29, and I haven't traveled because of the pandemic. Recently did my first trip since then, and all the transition stuff between countries really got me tired. Early rides to airports, immigration, customs, security waiting at the gate, budget airlines that charge for everything, waiting for the plane door to open so I can finally get off. Next time, I'm just doing one country and flying an airline that will at least give me water. I'm 36 and planning a 10-day trip, and it was like, you know what Europe has been like for a long time. It's probably going to be there for the rest of my life. I don't need to pack the entire continent into 10 days. I'm going to Portugal, that's it. To quote Charles Bukowski, there's time. and if there's not, that's alright too. My wife and I have long believed that traveling isn't about cramming as many different things in the short term, so we'll focus our trips where we'll focus on one country or area for a 7 to 10 day trip and be able to absorb more of what's in each location more. It's nice to be able to spend time to relax and have coffee at some of the local places, try some of the restaurants, pubs, etc., without needing to rush off to the next location. It's a much nicer way of seeing the world even if you cover less ground. Yeah, I hate the traveling aspect of traveling. I just want to get there via teleportation or some crap. Crowded planes full of nasty people, both in the rude and entitled sense and the hygiene sense, though it's hard to blame them for the latter half. Having to dump everything out at customs. Last time, I lot 2 free mini bottles of wine on a British Airways flight. I just chugged them before going through, lol. The expensive airport food, lugging around suitcases and satchels, traveling sucks. Usually the destination is worth it, but I hate having to get there manually instead of fast traveling. Makes sense. No one likes waiting. Story 10. Social media, specifically Instagram. I realize how much time I wasted worrying about how people perceived me and my interests and experiences. I think it's been almost 5 years now. I have been totally disconnected from all social media platforms other than Reddit. I sit and look at friends or other people I know still heavily addicted, spending most of the day posting and browsing. They 100% go through their day to have posts on Instagram. It's sad to see, as it just seems so pathetic to care so much about these random people and what they comment about your posts or see who liked it. It's like they don't have purpose in what they are doing or enjoying the experiences they are doing. Everything is just about posting their life online. I don't miss it at all. Honestly, within the first 24 to 48 hours of deleting my accounts, I had no regrets about any of it. The whole Facebook/Instagram social media scene is so toxic, I am glad I am out of it fully. I haven't had Facebook in over 11 years. Instagram free for over 2 years. No TikTok ever. AKA, it's impossible to find me. I stopped comparing myself to my peers/age group forever ago. In that time, I've done and accomplished a ton, but no one knows unless you're actively in my life. 3 college degrees, student loans paid off, own a condo in a major city, and travel a ton. I don't feel the need to take a picture of myself everywhere with my 1 foot forward and my hand on my hip. It's emotionally exhausting to keep up with other people that give no real damns about you, and you're really just acquaintances at best. No one really had 500 friends that they knew well. You can get so much more work done too without social media. Story 11. Fashion or trends. The older I get, and the more I see trends coming back over and over, I realize how dumb it all is. Wear a style that works for you and don't change your whole freaking personality and life because some paid influencer proclaimed thing is now in. I saw influencers hail crop tops as the best thing ever, making TikToks, then they can only be taken from them over their corpse, and then never wear any again. For me, it's the fact that it's so youth-driven. The older I get, the more ridiculous I find it that I'm supposed to change the way I dress just because a freaking teenager has arbitrarily decided that they like or dislike something. The whole idea that being young entitles you to dictate what people should wear is just the arrogance of youth. And another thing, if you do like a new trend, or it's a trend you were always into but now it's popular again, if the teens deem you too old now, you can't wear those clothes. Like, shut the F up. I was here when this trend first started. I'm 32 and have a small gothic Hello Kitty that I don't regret at all because it is something I did with a loved one. Recently, I had a teenager tell me I was trying too hard to be an e-girl. Like, when I was young it was called emo, and it literally doesn't matter what it's called. People can like and dress how they want. I still love a good baggy leg with rips all over. Story 12. I am so sick of people bitching and whining about stuff that will never affect their lives. I'm so sick of people who are just malicious and crappy because they can be. I'm so sick of the fake offendedness that everyone seems to have these days. I find that offensive. F off, you do not. You just want something to bitch about, to fill in the empty space in your hollow, sad existence. Those 2 gay twinks sharing a banana split at the beach are not your problem. I hate people getting offended on other people's behalf. The number of times I've had white people get offended on Hispanics' behalf, I'm Hispanic, when in reality, we don't care. I hate it when people get offended on your behalf because it's so condescending and patronizing. I have a disability. In fact, I have a few. And like, thank you, Karen, but I don't need you telling me what I should be offended by. Get back in your SUV and return to your suburban McMansion and leave me the hell alone. X find that so offensive. How the hell would you know? Have you ever spent any time with those people, or experienced that thing, or dealt with that problem? No, of course not. You just say it because you want to sound like some self-satisfied, superior, morally righteous, uptight little rat who has never actually had to deal with any of those issues in your entire freaking white bread life. So instead of faking your offendedness, how about you piss off back to your frappuccino? I've had people back in high school get offended over some kid bringing a sombrero to a dress-up day at school. Even used me as an excuse to crap on the poor kid. Like, man, I don't give a damn. Everyone should wear a goddamn sombrero. Or when people tried to get Speedy Gonzalez, a beloved Mexican mouse character, banned because he was racist to Hispanics, we freaking love Speedy Gonzalez. People have really mixed up cultural appropriation with appreciation. Story 13. Cars driving through the neighborhood fast. Like, slow the fuck down. People are trying to live here. Just 10 years ago, I was one of those drivers. To me, it's even more frustrating how many people drive basically the same speed through neighborhoods as they do on main thoroughfares or highways. And it's folks of all ages. You just sped 40 miles per hour through a 25 mile per hour zone. Now you're going 50 on this on-ramp to get to a 65 freeway? It's irresponsible speeds both ways. And parking lots. At my high school, people fly through the lot at 20 to 25 miles per hour. It's like, does it not occur to anyone that a person could come out from behind a car, not be paying attention, and step in front of you? You won't be able to stop in time and not hit them. When I was in high school, we had a vocational school that was about 15 miles away from the school. I went there and I lived right next to the vocational school, like a block away. I had to drive to the high school and take a bus to the vocational school in the mornings, which added an extra hour to my morning when I was already living on 4 hours or so of sleep because I worked until 9 every night. Turns out it's because some jackass kid tried to show off and pass the bus while there were cars coming in the other direction and almost caused a wreck. Thanks, idiot. Ruined it for the rest of us. Not just driving fast, but having those obnoxiously loud cars. Story 14. Teenagers. They become more and more repulsive. I was always scared of teenagers, as a teen myself too, LOL. They are packs of insecure little monsters feeding on the security of others. Walking past a school class will nearly always garner ridicule, etc. for most people. Not all, but enough for me to be scared of packs of teens, even as a fully adult woman. See, I really want to keep cheering for the kids, but this generation has no counterculture and no nonconformists. Their whole culture is algorithmic, and all the things that made youth culture so great in the past are gone. I don't dislike teenagers, and especially not for acting like teenagers always have, but it's just sad that they're now blind consumers rather than tastemakers for the rest of the arts and popular culture. They just consume now. They never make. It's sad. Yeah, it's hard to accept that today's teenagers are really that bad if you actually spend time around them. I worked at a restaurant recently that hired a bunch of 18 to 21-year-olds at once, and they came in just talking about dating and life and regular stuff like always. They were smart and independent people, and I found little difference in how my peers were at that age. Chances are that they too will complain about teenagers once they reach adulthood. It's a never-ending cycle. Story 15. Meeting new people. They're all so closed off, and it's exhausting to let someone know me again when they're likely to ghost, and when the main means of communication is now this capitalist download the app internet, where even meeting people is download the app. Oh yes, and if they don't ghost you, they get overly upset if you aren't there to instantly reply to all of their messages. I went away from my PC at 8 p.m. and the next morning saw a bunch of messages that had been sent after, tried to reply and found myself blocked, so I basically got blocked from doing my evening workout, taking a shower, and going to bed. Also, I'm tired of people not just saying no and stringing you along. I've gotten so many "I'd love to meet up, but I'm really busy, so maybe next week, month, or later" replies that I just have to keep asking. I'll ask once, and if they say they're busy, I just expect them to contact me when they stop being busy. So far, 0 contacts, but at least I'm not wasting my time on wondering when they might be available and asking again. It took me longer than I would like to admit to figure out that the people I thought were my friends weren't, because they would never come to events or want to do anything with me, but would never just say it. Now I give a person 2 attempts, and after that I write them off. If you don't want to meet up with someone, then don't lead them on. Story 16. Responsibility. Honestly, I'd rather be a kid/young adult and have to deal with very little. Now I'm responsible for my family, work, income, bills, house, chores, insurance, parenting, etc. And it doesn't get any less. Seems like there's just more being piled on. I cried about this on my way to work this morning. It's all so much. I've been a single parent for the last 10 years, and I feel like I'm barely holding on at all times. I had such wonderful hopes and dreams for life when I was younger. Damn, I do not miss at all being a minor with no money and no control over my life. I felt constantly stressed and pressured as a kid, and had almost no control over my mobility and expenditures. Life's way better as an adult with an income and professional respect. I agree, being a child meant less responsibility, but it also meant less freedom. I'd rather have my freedom and be allowed to do what I want, eat what I want to eat, go where I want to go, than to go back to being a kid that has to ask their parents for everything. It's a hard trade-off. Story 17. Tech. 32 now, and I couldn't give a crap about catching up on the new phones, etc. When my current phone dies, I'm getting whatever the best phone under 200 pounds is at that time. Ain't no way I'm paying close to 1,000 pounds on a phone these days just to watch YouTube and ignore messages and calls. Tech for me died after 2012. Not sure when, but that's the year I got a new car, new phone, new computers, etc. Everything worked, and all worked for my benefit, flawlessly for 10 years. A DUI hit my car, AT&T shut down 3G, which the voice radio used, and Windows 7 was just not possible anymore. I had to get all new stuff over the last 2 years, and it all sucks. Everything requires practically daily hot patching for wildly broken stuff that breaks even more stuff, or drastically alters the functionality of the product. Meanwhile, more and more settings and options are being removed. You get no say in how you use a product. It's geared to the benefit of the company first and the consumer as an afterthought. Constantly getting spammed to try this feature. No. Hey, would you like to enable this setting? No. You turned off this setting. Please turn it back on. No. Okay, fine. I'll just ask again every 7 days for eternity. Don't even start me on my car. 25 glaring problems and stupidity and counting. Don't buy a Subaru. The switch from hardware built to last to a live service, always updating subscription model is peak late-stage capitalism. Nothing is built to last anymore because corporations have realized that if they can simply cut service to old hardware or build an anti-repair measure, they can get your money more often. Planned obsolescence. This extends to appliances as well, and it absolutely blows my mind. They don't realize how anti-consumer their profit margins are, and it's poisoning the well of good faith. I definitely think companies get greedier and greedier by the minute. Story 18. That I still have to work on past trauma. Like it's such a waste of time for me that I have to fix myself because someone else was too lazy to raise another human mature enough to not cause harm to another person. Like such a waste of time in general that people constantly have to heal from each other. I'll never figure out why we are wired to be like this. I know it's so John Lennon, but it would be amazing to be free without a worry and be able to be in the company of people unbothered by each other, just staying true to their own stuff. It's mind-boggling that people will choose friendships or relationships based on whether we can agree on almost everything or not, or that my not having the same view as someone else would be offensive to anyone, unless it's crime-related and something that would hurt another human being, of course. But I mean, why aren't we rooted enough in ourselves to never take anything personally because we had to endure some broken human beings along the way? I hate the phrase that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't know. Thanks for letting me vent. If we were all content with who we are and what we have, how could we be sold temporary solutions and distractions? How could we be made to fight and hate ourselves as well as each other as to allow the few to appropriate what could help the many? How could we have our egos stroked and then used to squeeze us for all that we are worth? Sucks for my 41-year-old fiance that she needs to go to therapy and take medicine, and she says it's because of the way her mom's ex-husband treated her 30 years ago. What a garbage person he must have been. Clearly, as an adult, you would see that some grown man who mistreats a child is absolutely worthless, and anything that they ever said to you or about you can be widely discounted. But as a child, obviously you take their opinion on board and hold on to it for decades. Whereas nowadays, as an adult, you'd think, you're a massive poophead, so if you think I'm a poophead, that probably means I'm awesome. I couldn't give less of a damn about what some child abuser thinks of me. This disconnect is so frustrating. Story 19. the vicious cycle of people treating each other poorly because someone treated them poorly in the past, so they feel the need to treat others poorly, and so on and so on. So exhausting. I'm part of what my country would surely consider a minority race, but this is exactly what all the anti-whiteness and not-so-facetious jokes about white genocide by way of breeding white people out, an actual TikTok video in case people don't know what I'm talking about, the Asian women can single-handedly short are. Same with all this sudden vitriol towards cis straight people that at times rivals the disgustingness of comments in the other direction. Everything is justified in the present because of historical ills done to ancestors or one's community in the past. Reparations in any form is a complex issue, and I couldn't possibly sum up all my thoughts about it in a Reddit comment, so I'm sure I'll get downvotes and hate for this. But I stand by that crapping on straight people and white people because you feel your family or people like you were hard done in the past is the absolute pinnacle of hypocrisy, and we can already see how this is a vicious cycle. Story 20. Children that seem to shout like they are dying when in fact they're just playing. Like, why do they screech so much? I don't remember anyone acting like that when I was younger. My boyfriend told me he was at the store and there was a guy buckling his kid in a car seat and the kid was screaming her head off. Not angry, sad, or scared, just bored screaming. She'd run out of breath, take another breath, and scream some more. He said the dad looked absolutely exhausted and wasn't even trying to get her to stop. I pretty much avoid any place that has kids and get really annoyed when there are kids in adult places like bars or breweries. I don't think it's actually gotten any worse. The noise just bothers us more and we notice it more. I know it's just a kid being a kid and parents still need to lead functional lives and that requires bringing their kids. It still drives me up a wall when I hear the constant screaming of a kid over something that is barely even a minor inconvenience. Maybe we're just jealous that the worst thing they've had to cope with that day or ever is being told they can't get all the snacks they want from the candy aisle. One of the worst things that millennials have done is convince themselves that brewery tap rooms aren't bars, so having kids run amok is completely okay. It's definitely one thing if you walk into a brewery and there's a playset outside and a kid's area set up somewhere. They're signaling exactly what kind of space it is, and then it's on the adult to decide what to do. But the rooms that are clearly adult drinking establishments miss me with that kid running around screeching while adults are just trying to have a pint with their friends and watch the game or whatever. Most people will give you an argument like, you were a kid once. Yeah, but my parents actually stopped me when I did it. Story 21. Gatekeeping and elitism, especially in music. I used to do it myself, and when I see people do it now, I'm disgusted that I ever sounded like that. As a country music listener, I always hate when other people act like they got hit by a grenade when they hear any music. I get you don't like the genre, but I don't make a scene when music I dislike is played. Then, you got my fellow country listeners saying crap like, that ain't country, to songs that are clearly country, but not country enough for their liking. Also, the amount of anger some people have towards genres and artists they don't like. I have read and heard so many dogcrap takes and assumptions about music on this platform alone, and their critique is almost always the same. Blank is just a money grab. Blank aren't talented. Blank is not even real music. Blank does not deserve their success. Popular music has not been the same since blank. Music is getting worse. So many people don't want to accept that music is one of the most subjective things culture has to offer, and the lack of self-reflection in their arguments is infuriating. Oh, you like music? Name every instrument. Story 22. Ads. On the radio, TV, or YouTube, doesn't matter. It went from slight annoyance to anger over the years. Just the whole manipulation of people to buy stuff rubs me the wrong way. When it's Pride Month, everyone loves the LGBT+ except in the Middle East. Then they used the BLM movement and rioting because that was/is relevant. YouTube cracks down on creators who are not PC. But have you seen the ads they allow? Just now I heard an ad on the radio for a street hotel to, I guess, cheat on your partner. People from Belgium who listen to top radio will know what I mean. Give me normal ads for normal things that show me what the product can do and the price. No weird story to try and be funny or a cool visual that has nothing to do with the thing being advertised. advertised. Just get to the point and leave me alone afterward. Sorry for the rant, but I really hate ads. Agree. And we'll add all the bloggers who tell their whole life stories just to get to a recipe or whatever. Those stories are just to push their SEO and Google ranking. I just want to know how long the corn needs to boil. I don't give a crap about your experience at the farmer's market, or that your great uncle twice removed grown corn at some point in his life. I also don't need to start seeing ads for corn everywhere I go online for the next week. This was a one-time need. Leave me alone. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story or opinion that you would like to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. But please remember to be respectful. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and don't forget to subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.